Hey everyone, how are you doing? You have Mike and Sierra here, and today we're going to do a special unboxing. This here is the lighting system for our aquarium.
Yeah, so if you guys have been following our channel, we are rebuilding our 75-gallon into an aquascape tank for our big fishy here, and we're pretty excited to get these on this tank.
Yes, so let's open this box and see exactly what we ordered.
Now that's efficient.
Alright, so now that we got these unboxes, Sierra's going to tell us a little bit more about Giesemann.
Yeah, so they were started in 1991 with a goal of improving metal halide technology for marine tanks. But since then, they've pretty well branched out to making affordable lighting for all areas of the hobby.
Yeah, so one thing that I was really impressed with is the LED lighting. They have some really high-end lights over there at Giesemann. Lights that you can control from your phone, which is really cool. I think they're Bluetooth lights. I'm going to have a little display here for you so you can actually see them. But I don't want to get too far into the LED technology. Since we went with the T5, I just wanted to highlight and show that they do actually make awesome LED lights as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool features that they have on there. But today we're looking at the T5s, which we're looking at both the freshwater options that they offer.
Yeah, so we have the Tropic and we also have the Super Flora. Now I will put these spectrums up on the screen for you so you can actually see them. These here are going to do really well for reds and blues, which is what you were looking for in a good planted bulb. Now these things here, they came highly recommended from quite a few people. When we were asking around for the best T5 bulb, this is what we came up with.
Yeah, so everyone keeps going on about these bulbs, so we're really looking forward to seeing the results for ourselves, and we'll actually be par testing both these bulbs later on in the video.
Alright, so the last thing we have here is the Giesemann T5 Reflectors.
Yeah, so that's going to redirect any wasted light that is normally just going up at your ceiling, and it's going to redirect it where we want it most, right back into the aquarium.
Let's get these things on a tank, kind of show you what each of the bulbs look like, because these Tropic and Super Flora look totally different, where your Super Flora is going to look a lot more pink, your Tropic is going to look more like natural daylight, right?
Yeah, so we're going to look and we're going to see how it turns up on camera, because ultimately that's what our goal is, to provide the best lighting possible, but also make it have it camera friendly. Alright guys, so I got my Giesemann reflector out and I did install a little piece of hardware, which basically is a clamp to hold the lights in there. And I have connected it to my portable ballast. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach these Super Flora bulbs into the light. I'm going to show you the difference between the both of them. Alright, so here we're going to do some par testing with the Tropic lights and the Super Flora, and for that we got our friend over Kevin here with his handy dandy par tester. He's got a video on this specific par tester if you want to go over to his channel and check it out. We can put a link up here too for you, and I guess let's get started, eh?
Yep. Yeah, so for those of you who haven't gone over and checked out the video first, just a quick note, this is the SQ520 Apogee quantum sensor from Apogee. It's a quantum sensor meter. So this is going to measure our par ratings. So again, photosynthetically active radiation. So essentially it measures U-moles per meter squared per second. So that's really the only indicator that's really going to tell you how good and how strong your lighting is at depth underwater. Ignoring the old watts per gallon myth and everything like that.
Yeah.
So again, go check out the video for a little bit more in depth, but just so you folks are at least quickly caught up on what this is. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to take some readings that are going to be from pretty much center underneath the lights.
Yeah.
I always like getting sort of a baseline just underneath the water, even though most of the readings that you usually list for the par readings for lights is at substrate level.
Okay.
Just because it's easier, because that's your full light penetration, right?
Yeah.
But I still like taking top of the tank, middle of the tank, bottom of the tank, and then moving off to the sides, because that will tell you as well how well your lights are spreading. I can tell by looking at this, just because of where the reflectors end, that there is going to be some lesser zones on the outside already, that's fine. It just gives you an idea of sort of how to
Where to put your plants.
exactly what plants can survive well and do well where. These are fantastic lights, so I don't think we're gonna find too many like dead spots where it's like that's not gonna help.
Yeah. It also would have helped if I would have went with the 48-inch light as well. So that's kind of my bad on this one. I should have went with a little bigger, but hey, you go with what you have sometimes, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And again, with these lights being as good as they are, these Giesemann bulbs, Giesemann bulbs,
yeah.
I don't think that's going to be an issue at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pull off the cap and then we have our sensor active. So as I said, I'm going to take a quick reading. Now this is obviously fully submersible. Nice little piece of electronics you can dump into water without worrying about it. Yeah.
Don't try that with your cell phone.
No. We've got these set to 5-second intervals, just that way we can move it around slowly and see. Now, we're not going to get a quite accurate substrate level just because Mike's just sort of maturing the substrate that he's going to be using right now, but it's going to give us a pretty good rendition anyways of at least basic leveling.
Yeah.
Alright, so
these here are the two Super Flora bulbs. As you can see, they're a lot more pink, as we showed earlier in the video. So we're going to do a little bit of par testing on these lights now to see what the difference is.
I'm probably not going to do quite as much chit chat because I ran you through what I was doing the last time, and I'm just essentially going to try and recreate the same pattern that the path that I took on the last one.
Yep. We did make a little map of the tank in order to do that, to make sure that we were hitting the same spots. Okay, so now that we have done a little bit of deciphering the Da Vinci Code here, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I took the data that you saw us record there, and went home and drew all my little charts and tried to figure them out. And it was interesting because I had to keep going back over them because some interesting results came out of that I wasn't entirely expecting. Because between the Tropic, the first one, and the Super Flora, the second set, I was expecting that they were going to be pretty much on par. They were going to be pretty much neck and neck with each other. And to a point they kind of were, but it was just, in my opinion, there might have been more of, there's a slight difference in the spectrum, right, that we saw, and obviously in the Kelvin rating because of just how it looks. Mm-hmm. But some interesting data sort of came out. Now, I mean, we took a lot of measurements, and what I did as I went through this is I just sort of threw away the outlying data, some that was right off from another, because it could have just been, we didn't measure it in a very scientific way, like we didn't specifically have a measuring tape to know were we hitting bang on the same point.
Yeah, exactly.
We were close enough, horseshoes and hand grenades, but not entirely. So if there was something where I saw data that was just, okay, wow, that really doesn't correlate to the rest of it, I threw it out.
Yeah.
As one should when you're just sort of guessing around.
Yeah, exactly.
At least find some sort of correlation and even keel. So for the most part, what I focused on then was really just the measurement that we took from the top right in the center of the lights, mm-hmm. and then down to the middle portion, and then down to the bottom portion. And then I took note of the measurements that we took just on the outside as well, because in this case, because you're using the 36-inch, the reflectors don't go
all the way,
so, right? And so I was curious to see how the reflectors still manage to spread some light,
out to the edges.
But so I'll go through the individual numbers first, and then I'll tell you how they sort of related to each other that I found interesting. So with the Tropic, right now it's the Super Flora that's on here, and you can tell by the sort of pinkish hue. With the Tropic, right at the surface, we were looking at a par rating of 429 umols per meter squared per second. And again, if you want a little bit more of explanation, you can go check out the video, like we said. At the center, we had 252. and at the bottom we had 105. Now, all of that falls within the categorization of sort of high light tanks, right? There's a lot more variables to consider when you're looking at the lights, obviously. I mean, you've been doing a bit of research in that as well, and you've seen that.
It's kind of confusing.
Yeah, and you can't, I mean, even though there's some basic charts out there that will say 0 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 100 for low, medium, and high, it's a bit of a sliding scale once you start working in what plants you've got, the size of your tank, the depth of your tank, how much CO2, what your dosing is, you know.
Even the cleanliness of your tank, so.
Exactly, and so like I prefer to use the terms instead of low light or high light, lower lighting and higher lighting, right? Because again, it's a bit of a sliding scale. Rule of thumbs are good in some cases, but they're not exact.
Yeah.
And so with the Super Flora then, where the Tropic was 429, the Super Flora started off at the surface at 372. So that was, we're looking at about a 50 par difference, right? Mm-hmm. Now again, if talking about that 0 to 30 or, you know, 30 to 50, that looks like a fairly substantial change, you know? A difference of 5 par, 10 par, even as high as maybe 20, it doesn't make a huge difference. Mm-hmm. But once we get into 50, okay, you know, so the Tropic started off really strong up near the surface. But interestingly, once we moved to the center, the Super Flora was at 227 versus the Tropic's 252, as I said. So it sort of caught up. So that means that the Tropic lost a lot of its penetration power by the time it hit the center, because if it was moving sort of in conjunction with each other, it still should have remained about 50 ahead. But by this point, we were getting closer to maybe only about 20-ish ahead. If my math is, only about 20. So again, like I said, that 20 par difference, not huge, right? And then when we got to the bottom was where I was really perplexed and impressed, because the Super Flora at the bottom layer, and again we use the substrate bags here as sort of our bottom rather than the very bottom of the tank, but for what we were measuring, it was at 145 versus the Tropic's 105, right? So the 50 that the Tropic had at the start, the Super Flora had at the bottom. So that means the Super Flora has much more steady penetration and stable penetration, so you can actually get still quite high
lighting rate at the bottom of the tank.
Now, when it does come to planting, perhaps it might be something where you'll have to raise the lights, and depending on your CO2 and stuff, so you don't risk algae. But like I said, I went back and I was just so impressed with that, because when you take the difference between where the Tropic started versus where it ended, and the Super Flora where it started and where it ended, you're ending with the Tropic lost through penetration about 325 U-moles per meter squared per second for par, versus the Super Flora only losing 227, right? So again, yes, it started off at a lower rate and everything like that, but it maintained its penetration
all the way to the bottom,
all the way to the bottom, much more so than the Tropic did.
And it's kind of surprising from your just looking at it with your eyes. The Tropic are a lot more brighter and in your face, and you would think for sure that would have the penetration all the way to the bottom.
Exactly.
But the Super Flora with the pink light has a little bit more penetration, which is it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And that right there actually goes to prove the point that Kelvin rating, saying 6500K is the great.
Exactly.
It's bunk. You know, Kelvin is only how it looks to our eye, because, like you said, that Tropic looks
brighter.
You looked at it, and it definitely looked a much brighter yellow, and the pink makes it look a little bit more dim in spots. I mean, yes, it brings out different parts of the spectrum. You can see the lava rock pops a bit red.
Pops a bit red, yeah.
But, you know, really, to look at it with your eye, like, it seems to be the dimmer light, but no, because for the plants. PAR being the photosynthetically active radiation.
Yeah.
The stuff that the plants use has nothing to do with our appreciation or anything.
Yeah.
The Super Flora for the wind. I mean, I know we weren't competing them, but it was. I was just impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, just briefly, the interesting thing is, because I mean, again, that was taken sort of down, and I saw that same sort of data correlate when we moved to the outer edges of the tank. So it wasn't something we just noticed specifically going down. That's all I'm relating here. But even as we spread, you know, out to the back of the tank, underneath the driftwood, and to the front, it was the same sort of thing, where once we were in that middle section, the Super Flora was still dispersing at a smoother rate. It was only once we got to the outside where I really didn't see much of a change, but still a really good amount of light, because once we got to the outer edges, where again, as we said, the reflectors aren't going, they were only hitting, sorry, where's my number here? Yeah, around 80 or 90.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, to the outside. So again, still within that sort of high light range, you know?
These reflectors are obviously working pretty well.
Well, yeah, because a lot of reflectors you'll see, because again, these aren't angled out in any sort of way to create the spread, so it really is, it's just the reflection that's helping it to disperse out, because again, you know, light doesn't travel down, light travels every direction, you know, to a point, but the fact that these reflectors were still able to maintain at its lowest point that much PAR, versus what it was at the bottom in the middle was pretty impressive. So
for sure,
win for the reflectors, as much of a win for the Super Flora.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that pretty much explains it all.
Yeah. So Giesemann. I mean, don't get us wrong. Or either one, the Tropic or the Super Flora, are both amazing lights, because they both put out fantastic. I didn't have written down there, but I forget what the depth was from your top to your bottom for your lights.
I believe it was 7 and ended at 18, 19, or no, that doesn't seem right.
Still let's check. Yeah, but so to the bottom, so let's call it 27?
27, yeah, 27, that sounds right.
So 27 inches from substrate, from very bottom of the tank, you know, and we're still staying within a highlight area.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, for just two. Like, this isn't a full 4-bulb rack.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of people will put on a tank of this size. This is just 2, and it's still hitting that nice highlight area.
And not even a full length. So.
And not even a full length. So I mean, these bulbs are phenomenal. Really curious to see down the road how these might pair up against some of the LEDs for spread and penetration and everything like that. Because I know a lot of people have moved away from the bulbs, the T5s.
Over to LEDs now,
but I'd be really curious to see how they stack up, because obviously a really good T5 still can produce amazing results. And so then it just, now the lighting is settled, it's just the rest of the maintenance and everything to make sure that you're making use of that, these good lights.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you very much for helping me come get the PAR readings and all this stuff.
Always,
I appreciate it. All right, so I think that we actually made a really awesome choice here going with Giesemann on this one. People were right. You know, we were asking around, and we did get quite a few people that were suggesting going with Giesemann. So they definitely knew something that we didn't know at the time. But after doing these PAR results, we got some pretty awesome numbers coming out of these lights. So it is really kind of a good thing that I did build a DIY lighting system that allows me to raise my lighting a little bit. Because I think right now we might just be a little bit too high for where we're trying to go. But having the ability to adjust everything makes all the difference in the world. What I did have here was an old telescope tripod. So I took this tripod and I drilled the aluminum and basically mounted it to the side of my wood stand. At the top here, I just drilled another hole, and I put 100-pound steel braided wire, and put some clips on the end. And that, like I said, that can hold up to 100 pounds. I'm not sure about how much the plastic would hold, but I was flexing on it pretty hard, like over flexing it to see if it would break, and it was pretty solid. So I think we're fairly good. I think we're going to be okay on that one. But to get back to the lighting here, I actually will have a par meter coming within a couple of weeks, and that's really going to allow us to see exactly where we are by raising and adjusting it. And we're going to play around with that a little bit as well, just so we can fine-tune the lighting a little bit. So hope you guys are excited. I'm getting super excited about this tank now because it's pretty much coming by the end of next week. The tanks should be fully done and scaped and everything, and going high-tech with this tank as well. So it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge, but definitely a lot of work's gone into this tank in preparation and planning. And Kevin too, I do want to give him a big thank you because he has helped out quite a bit with all this planning and stuff like this. So I want to give a big thanks to Kevin as well. And yeah, we're going to see you on the next one when this tank looks a little bit more finished.